This is Big Man Tyrone, and you're about to watch the MtG Cabal cast with your hosts, Woad, Thursty, and Reptar. Sub to us on all your podcast networks at MtG Cabal Cast and YouTube.
Well, guys, welcome to the newest episode of the Cabal Cast. We're covering a little bit of the fallout now that all the dust has settled on this whole Mythic Edition debacle. The big topic we're going to have today is sheets and what it means.
Yep.
As some of you, I'm sure actually everybody knows, last week you got a message in your eBay account, something, sorry we're so terrible, something, here's an uncut sheet from Wizards, here's a measly $20 gift code from us. And it is an uncut sheet of Mythics and Rares from War of the Spark.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and get started on that, I suppose.
So this is kind of the hot button topic for almost the last week. It's been the meme of choice across Twitter, regardless of what happens. The meme is WotC tweets at you with a sheet asking if this is enough. Jerry Thompson quits the MPL. WotC tweets at him with an uncut sheet. We hope this makes up for the bad beats.
The confusion. Sorry.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of great information about this. The professor had a video that came up, I believe, over the weekend. Chaz Andres, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. His article on Star City addressed the sheet economy this week, and it's actually not a bad read. Some of the stats that we spent our weekend digging around for can be found in there and can be verified through there. A number of other high-profile people that have dealt with sheets because they either NFC, non-factory cut their own stuff, or they're just interested in owning them, also weighed in over the weekend. And basically what looks like happened is that WotC was forced to print extra sheets by eBay, which I believe we knew because that was an eBay tweet, and that effectively crushes the sheet economy for this set. Generally speaking, when a set is printed, only a few hundred of these are made, and they are given out to Channel Fireball or whatever TOs are running Grand Prix or Magic Fests for that year, conventions, I believe, and then a handful of other events. Some events like Eternal Weekend and PAX get their own unique sheets, which we will touch on, but there's never been a print run of sheets to this kind of, I won't even say demand, to this magnitude. So what does it do? Well, once the sheets have been confirmed by WotC that is just going to be one per canceled order, they started going up on eBay, pre-orders, and it was just a race to the bottom, and things settled around $200, which might not seem bad depending on the way you look at it. Generally, a sheet costs between 500 and 700 tickets depending on what Grand Prix you're at, or Magic Fest.
1,200 tickets actually is the standard.
Okay, 1,200, that's even more ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you can do the math on that to see what it's worth in dollars based on how much each individual pack is worth. And thus, the floor is kind of set by that number for the entirety of the year, or the quarter, however long that sheet lasts. 200 is well under half of what a sheet goes for in the secondary market, even for a bad set.
Yeah.
Some of the numbers that we were looking at, and this is from the Chaz Andrews article as well, he kind of backs this up, float around 500. That's the floor for a sheet for a very bad set. It's something that just doesn't sell well, Oath of the Gatewatch style. Standard set. Now, a sheet in standard that, for a set that's just poppin', you could see almost 1K immediately. What the decay is on that, I'm not sure, but 1K is kind of the mark for that set. And this means that from the beginning, anybody who's picked up a War of the Spark sheet or thought they were going to at a Magic Fest for some kind of value on the secondary market immediately loses. The person that eventually picked up the sheet from Madison, I think, tweeted at WotC once they found out how many of these had made it into the wild and what the current price was, actually asked if they could get a second sheet or something else to compensate for the amount of time and work they had to put in. Yep. And the interesting thing about the sheet is, because you were there, when did it go?
So there were two sheets up, and I tweeted throughout the weekend as stuff happened. So there were two sheets up at the beginning of the weekend, and they were up for 1,200 ticks. Mm-hmm. They took them down and just left them down for all of day zero. They went up again afternoon day one for 700 ticks. and they weren't gone until Sunday. Which typically, if you've ever been to a GP, you know those sheets. Day one, they're gonna smash limited events and pull their tickets together.
Yep.
Buy sheets, and those sheets don't last. They're the first thing to go.
Yep.
One of the Planeswalkers was gone as the oversized card before the sheets, which is
ridiculous,
insane.
There's no Facebook group dedicated to oversized Grand Prix cards or Magic Fest cards, but there is a Facebook group dedicated to uncut sheets.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to think about, because when you think about it, so the economy for the in-print oversized cards are like 200 to 300, and then when they go out of print, they'll hit 5 to 6. So at 10 ticks a pack, it's a better value to get the oversized cards for 400 to 600 or whatever they may be than the sheet for 700.
Yep.
That's 70 packs. That's crazy.
Oh yeah. And even on a set that's just medium all around in terms of price per card, rare and mythic, you're still better off getting those 70 packs, almost 2 boxes for your time, than you are to get this sheet right now.
Yeah.
The fact that the sheet lasted that long and went up with a second price should tell you a little bit about what's going to go on with the economy.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things that is going to happen here is, over the weekend, we did find out that there are a number of people that either have figured out a way to clip/die cut the cards themselves and cut the sheet up to make more foil cards, or have a decommissioned cutting machine that they can use to turn these foil sheets into real cards. So this is going to create another interesting little blip on the secondary market, where all of a sudden we might just have more foil stock of this set than we've seen for other sets previous, without having to open the boxes. So there could be a point in time where some foil rares are actually cheaper than their non-foil counterparts, just because of the volume, if we are looking at close to 20,000 extra sheets going out. Each sheet has more than one of each rare, and I believe more than one of each mythic on it. So that could be anywhere from 10,000 sheets to 20,000 sheets times 2 to 4 of each mythic and
card.
rare.
Yeah.
Right.
Not to mention, talking about devaluing the set, WotC can't just pull 10 to 20,000 sheets out of their ass.
No.
So, touching on that, War of the Spark this weekend, vendors were paying $75 cash for a box. Wholesale is $79 because distros are out.
Yep.
So we have this insane supply issue right now with this set. And you're going to, at some point down the line, maybe now, maybe Modern Horizons, maybe Core 20 or 19, whatever it is.
20.
I don't know. At some point, you're going to have to cut into the production of one of those sets to make these sheets. So doing that, especially if they do it now when War is already short supply, that could have an insane impact on the singles in the market.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because, for one, just lack of supply, stuff is already starting to kick up.
Yeah.
Because people know distros are out. So you're not getting more. The supply for right now doesn't exist. So if you're going to print 10,000, 20,000 of these sheets, what set are you going to short? You short War and everybody is mad. You short Modern Horizons and you piss off your most popular format players. Constructed format. Your most popular constructed format players. And then if you go to core set, at that point you've waited 5 months to print these things out.
Yeah, that's a huge delay.
That looks way worse all of a sudden to these, 10 to 20,000 people that just got snapped.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see what that does to the supply, if they're going to ship the war sheets to a different printer, because right now most everything's being printed in Europe. So what are they going to do? Ship the war sheets over to China after war is done and have them printed there? Because then you've got tariffs to worry about. Suddenly, you've got to pay tax on this.
On a product that you're already losing your hat over.
Yeah. Does that really make sense for them to do? I mean, their shareholders certainly would not approve of that,
No.
I would think. Are they going to ship it to the States where no offense, Wizards, how many products that weren't supposed to get to the wild from the States
got into
the wild in the States?
Yeah.
Like, there is no way for them to win here. And it's turned into this insane debacle, and the people that are getting sheets, and even the people that aren't, this is a huge confidence blow, and this is a faith-based economy.
Yep.
Look at the reserve list, for example. I don't want to get too into it because it's a huge issue for everyone. The reason it's there is because, in good faith, people have been investing in these cards, buying these cards. Sorry, let's not use the word investing. People don't like that.
No. We don't put our money in cardboard.
No, never.
We put it in cryptocurrency.
Maybe. So, all of a sudden, people have faith that you're going to try to make this right.
Mm-hmm.
If they try to make it right from here, if something happens with these sheets, if they show up torn in half or whatever, that's a huge blow in consumer faith in this company.
Yeah, just continued issues.
Yeah, at this point you have, there was that tweet circulating around of that the guy that got 16 boxes or whatever it was that everyone's absolutely flipping out over that, it was in the professor's video today. When you have stuff like that is so damaging to consumer faith in what they're doing, that it gets to the professor, they're really under the microscope.
Yeah.
And these sheets need to be handled properly. You need to recognize, there's going to be a give and take here, and that these sheets may be a mea culpa that people accept.
Mm-hmm.
I keep my opinions to myself, but even if you accept it, I think it's bad for the overall economic health of the game short term, particularly in Standard.
Yeah.
Because I hope that Wizards recognizes Modern Horizons is arguably their biggest financial opportunity of the year.
Yep.
And doesn't jeopardize that. Because if they do, then it's even worse.
Yeah, I imagine if they had to turn anything off, it might have been a purported second print run if allocation has already been met for Horizons.
Yeah.
And if it was met quickly, then they know they need to start up a second print run, and you don't want to shortchange your master set, which I believe everybody that plays the finance game agrees is their big ticket item every year that they do on.
Yep. And it'll be interesting to see because, like Chaz touched in his article, this is, the uncut sheet market's been around forever, and this is the first time you've seen a manufacturer shakeup in this.
Yeah.
Where they don't have to say they care about it, and looking at prices, like you said, for an awful set, the floor is 500. Right now, Jerry has a standing offer out there for 200 for a sheet. That's it. 200, done.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be where it settles. This isn't From the Vault Realms where sheets sell for $2.5K.
Yeah.
Because you can only get them at like a PAX event or an Eternal Weekend or something. This is everybody and their mother getting one. And it's still on GP walls.
Yeah. And it's not even a unique sheet with Planeswalkers like Origins was. The unique Origins sheet wasn't the Rare and Mythic sheet. It was the Planeswalker sheet, the Flipwalker sheet.
Yeah.
Like, this is just another run-of-the-mill item. And the best thing that you can really do with it right now until the market dries up, who knows when, is frame it.
Yeah.
Spend the money and frame it, put it on your wall, and maybe drape something over it to help you forget about it. Just keep it safe. The saving grace on this is the fact that because there are more of these, there might be more people looking to pick them up on the cheap, cut them, and thus cut the quantity of intact sheets down, so that in the long run things equal out. But then, like I said earlier, that mucks up the secondary market. One of the things I haven't seen in a while is people doing the weird angle NFCs.
Yeah. Well, Ellie stopped, and after that it kind of dried up, so I think we may see
Yeah.
One of the Sick Deals admins, in the chat was like, "Oh, I'm going to take the crazy craft scissors to these and just hand cut them."
Oh yeah, like the wavy sides to match the shitty legendary wavy tops. Yeah. I mean, Ely didn't have to continue. I asked somebody, I was like, "Why would you do this to Ravaishi? Why would you cut duels like this when he started doing it a couple of years ago?" And somebody said to prove a point that the market is there. And then out of the woodwork came a bunch of people that NFC'd stuff at a 45-degree angle. And people bought into that. Those cards are strictly unplayable. And it is just a collector's item in a silly, tiny niche market. But we haven't really seen anybody NFC standard sheets in a while. Every now and then, when there's a good Masters set, we'll see NFC sheets. I believe I saw NFC Opals. And so that was Modern Masters 2. So that might have been the last time I saw people just like going ham and making like, diagonal cards out of that. But maybe we'll see weird angle cards for vintage. Who knows?
That would be sweet. Get to fairies.
Yeah, to fairies and Karn. Because you'll probably wind up with like 2 Karns on a sheet, maybe 3 Teferis. It's a fairly large set for one sheet, so yeah, maybe one and 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen the collation yet. But it just has rippling and cascading effects in regards to the financial market in every aspect that you can think of.
Both of those mechanics were great, by the way.
What, NFC? Or the
Ripple and Cascade.
Oh. I'll give you Cascade. Ripple is just terrible.
I love that mechanic. Anyway, sorry, continue.
And this is not something that WotC has to think about ever, which is terrible. Because they can just do stuff like this. If they wanted to, for whatever reason, they can do the same thing later on with another set and give everybody who walks into a GP a sheet.
Yeah.
And there's nothing we could do about it. Because they don't have to care. It's a standard set. What matters? Nothing matters. And this is just kind of another interesting feather in the cap, or a new paradigm that we move into in regards to what can and can't be done and what they are willing and not willing to do. And one of the questions that I don't think we'll ever have answered was, who forced the movement on the sheets? Was that eBay or was that Hasbro?
Yeah, I mean, eBay sent the tweet out and Wizards confirmed it, but, Pearl Harbor was not supposed to be a surprise attack because there was supposed to be a telegram sent.
Yeah.
Someone messed up somewhere. And, it's funny because eBay came out after the lawsuit, made waves and was like, "Hey guys, it's our fault. We messed this up. This was on us." Well, does that mean they prompted the sheets?
Yeah.
Or was that Wizards?
Yeah.
We'll never know.
And that's neither here nor there in regards to a financial discussion. That is something for the shareholders to discuss, to see when the next time they want to do something like this and decide on what platform to put it. But I don't know. I think that's probably about it for sheets. I think this is, at this point in time, it's just going to be beating a dead horse, and we're a little late to the punch because you were at a GP flying and then buying a car. Yeah. Which is a big weekend in and of itself.
Which, to wind it down a little bit, so some stuff I noticed at the GP. So like I said, vendors were paying $75 for sealed boxes of War there.
Yep.
The buy list for Mythic editions was about 700.
Yeah, and that must have been a very small number of Mythic editions to even hit the state.
Yeah, there hardly any. I think I saw maybe 6 or 7 in the room, counting the 2 that were on the prize wall, because they only printed 12,000 guys. The hot ticket item, which was really interesting to me since it was a limited GP, was breeding pool. No vendors could keep breeding pool in. At one point, one vendor had a buy price of $11.
Yeah.
Which seems mind-blowing to me. Also interesting, and I don't know if this is just 95 being 95 or if this is arbitrage, but a lot of EDH cards like Helm of the Host and stuff like that actually had a high buy price at the 95 booth, which is surprising because a lot of those cards, like Chromatic Lanterns in Japan, are dirt cheap.
Yeah, it's an EDH staple. Nobody cares.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see, 95, who often arbitrages over to Haruria, with these high buy prices on those cards. So that'll be something to watch over the next couple months, is to see if there's a concerted move to get some of those cards overseas.
Yep.
Or if they're just literally stockpiling to have them for GPs.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be interesting to see what happens. The other interesting thing was there was a surprising number of Liliana sleeves in the room.
The Japanese alt art?
Japanese only, yeah. So Ed was there, of course, so he brought some with him.
Yep.
But 95 had some in their booth, and of all booths, Dan Bach, Power 9, had some Liliana sleeves in his booth.
That's interesting.
Which, it was interesting because, I talked to a couple of vendors to see what buy prices for the sleeves were, and the buy prices for vendors ranged anywhere from $0, we're not touching them,
yep,
to $10 to $35.
Huh.
Which was really weird.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I was just taking a look. Somebody grabbed a couple photos of the buy prices for cool stuff, 95, and I'm looking at. I've got 95 and Toa up, and some of the things that I saw is that Underground Sea is holding strong at 420, 430. Valk is about 330, 340, depending on where you're looking, and it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of chance the floor drops out on these anytime soon.
No, I think, and this is something we touched on, like the year-over-year yield on duels.
Yep.
Is just too good not to take advantage of, and every time the ceiling spikes, the floor settles higher.
Yeah. And
I think we really are that's $100 more on each of those than it was a year ago.
Yep, and yep. Unless we do get some kind of replacement for these, I don't ever see this stuff dropping back down. It's hard to look at the price on Power and say oh, this is where it's sticking, because the only people that have advertised prices for this GP were Toa, and they're only looking for a Lotus, a Pearl, and a Twister near mint. So trying to figure out what's going on in that market is difficult based on that.
Yeah, I will say, talking to vendors this weekend, a lot of them noticed that LP Power doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And it's not like, last year during the old school boom, you could find it all day in Facebook groups.
Mm-hmm.
Even in Facebook groups now, it's just dead. LP Power doesn't exist. So what you're starting to see is people actually move in on the 8 and 8.5 slabbed Power.
Okay, yeah.
Because the drop in price from a 9 to an 8 is very significant. And if you just want one to have an LP in your case, a lot of times you're buying a slab and cracking it, and you're putting it at a higher number.
Yep.
And it's still moving.
Oh yeah, no, and it's great if you're a vendor for that, but otherwise it's just kind of difficult if you're trying to move in on a nice looking set of Power to play with.
Yeah.
MP is still around, and HP they're not that hard to find, but you're right in that higher graded Power is easier to find on Facebook groups than LP Power. Although I haven't really been keeping an eye on the high end groups for that recently.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Also, a lot of vendors said they're starting to move graded stuff to PWC.
Okay.
Because the exposure and the advertising is better, and they don't have to invest any time. So if they have a staff, they don't have to pay someone to do it. They just ship it to PWC. Yep. They throw it up eventually. They get some exorbitant amount of money more than they should.
Yeah. Because they're the name in that space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every now and then, if you don't pay attention to PWC and their site yourself, if you check just MTG Finance on Reddit, you can and maybe once a month something will go up on there when some ridiculous card goes up. The Lotus that's floating around, the beta 9.5, that goes up on eBay just for the exposure and the clicks.
Yep.
But a lot of other graded cards will go up on PWC and hit that finance sub, and somebody's like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. And then I don't think we have any representation us at Providence, but I'll be at DC. So I'll see a little bit over the summer what's going to go on. And I think that event is after Modern Horizons is spoiled, but before release, if memory serves.
Yeah. Which will be interesting to see how that affects things.
Actually, June 14th, 15th, 16th is the GP.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's release.
Yeah, that's release weekend.
Okay.
I believe DC is a sealed GP as well. So any stores in the area. So Jersey's not that far. Maryland's not that far. Virginia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and we might get some people driving in from New York. I'd expect anybody who's ordered boxes to kind of come into the area to move their stuff quickly on a release weekend if they don't have an LGS they want to dump it to. So I might be able to report back on some Horizons prices there. So
that'll be good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But I think that's going to close this out for today. And just head out on picks, which is kind of interesting considering the fact that we had these up on, I think, Thursday because we knew there was going to be a delay. So if you weren't paying attention in the Discord, you definitely missed out on my pick. So last week on Thursday, I went in on Narrow Meha. I bought in myself. I bought in, I think, about 60 cents, maybe less a piece. Extracted about 20 off the internet, and I found out at that point in time that large vendors were actually out or restocking, currently well over $1. I'll bring up stocks. And stocks, you can see, is kind of flat. However, the market price has begun to beat out the average as of late. And the reason for this is that people haven't given up on the Ral Zarek combo in Standard, but what they're changing over to is this Todd Anderson style list I have up. This list was a known quantity going into set release with Finality of Green, whatever the name of that is, Devastation. And it just kind of flew under the radar, but on Thursday, Todd played this on stream and did hot medium with it.
Yeah.
The reason that Narameha is better here than Expansion Explosion is because this deck can survive well without Expansion Explosion. Does not have to play a controlling game. It can play a mid-range game, and if you just have to start casting Finale of Devastation to go get your creatures, nobody cares about a bad Green Sun Zenith. It's still Green Sun Zenith, and it still puts in work. So Finality, I believe, is 9 to 10 right now, but Narameha is actually the combo engine in the deck. It makes it function like Splinter Twin, and it's kind of circuitous to explain. But basically, cast Finality, you go get Narameha. I believe Narameha allows you to copy the Finale that's still on the stack. That goes to get another Narameha, and then you just start creating additional copies of that Finale by chaining Naramehas out of the graveyard. With Finale. And it allows you to go infinite that way. People think that it's standard Splinter Twin, and if you were able to buy in last week, the CK buy list, the delta has closed to be about, I think, 10 to 15 cents between a buy price a price you could buy in at last week versus their buy list price. So if I got in at, like I said, 40 or 60 cents, I think I can get out at a profit at about 70-ish now. But if you bought in over from TCG Player or late in the weekend, you're probably looking at a delta of, like I said, 10 cents still before you hit profit. It's also a legendary Wizard Lord. So,
which is not a bad place to be.
No, I mean, Patron Wizard holds a price because it's actually a decent card, but it's also part of Wizard Tribal. So it's not like this thing won't hold value in the long run if you just get in now. The danger is that this is a very short-term spec because you're looking at a card that's heading into rotation. So it's rotating out in a couple of months. So if you don't get in before it spikes or it doesn't spike at all, you're going to see just a loss going into rotation, then it'll be a long-term hold. So if you can get in sub $1, if you can get in at sub $1 still, I recommend it, and this is going to be a flip in the next couple of weeks. We have SEG Syracuse this weekend, which is one of the first standard events outside of the MCQ weekend that will have public visibility. And I'm sure at some point we'll see people like Saffron Olive start to stream this thing because it's another weird, goofy combo. And he's already played Infinite, Jake Cunning Castaways, and I think he's done the Expansion Explosion thing. So this is right up his alley.
Yeah, it is.
So I'd expect to pop in the next couple of weeks, and that would be the time to get out.
Yeah, we actually, every Narumeha in the room got bought Friday. So that was, there were a couple vendors that bought bulk that had like 30. Guy comes up, I'll take them.
Yeah.
Just hoover them all up.
Yep.
Okay. My pick is one that, so on the way up to Madison, we were in the car, and I was like, guys, I want some input. What do you think I should pick this week? And one of the guys in the car, Levi, was like, what's that card from Kamigawa? It's Kamigawa block. I've been trying to remember what it is. But it's a red card, and everyone destroys a land for each card in your hand or something. And of course, me, Obliterate is my favorite card in Magic. So I was like, I don't know this card. I should know this card.
Yep.
This is right up my alley. Thoughts of Ruin. 4 mana sorcery. Red, 2. Each player sacrifices a land for each card in your hand. So my pick is the foil version. The reason being, it's from Saviors of Kamigawa. The worst set of one of the worst blocks of all time. A set that wasn't opened outside of needing Pithing Needle when that was a $40 sideboard card in Legacy.
Yep.
It just doesn't exist. And then I looked at listings and I'm like, okay, well, there's like 20 on TCG Player. Okay, Card Kingdom has 14 total. Star City's out. Mini Market's out. eBay had like 10. And most of those were from international sellers.
Yep.
And then I'm like, okay, let's take a look at the price. It was a sub $5.
Yeah,
So,
it's like 3 and change right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's just absolutely ridiculous. So I bought all the sub, $3, $4 copies I could find. And right now, checking TCG, there are 8 total listings, including one from Abu. So this is a card that is a powerful effect in a color that loves the effect. And it is an affordable foil, which EDH players love. It's the type of thing you can find probably in a bulk foil box because shops don't know this card exists and they don't know it's worth money. They just see it and they're like, what's it worth? Oh, it's less than a quarter for non-foil, throw it in.
Yep.
And that's probably been sitting there for ages. I could easily see this hitting a $10 to $15 foil in a year or so, just due to natural progression and natural growth. And I haven't taken a look at the MTG stocks chart.
It's pretty much flat. Actually, yeah, it's flat for forever at about $3.
Yeah. So it's something that, looking at back in 2016, 2017, it hit a low. And then it's been, since then, peaked up. We're at around 3. We had a slight lull. And then actually, in March, we had a spike on the card, and now it's back down again.
Yes.
This card's only been printed once. I can't imagine that there isn't a marketplace where this card exists as a $10 to $15. I'll preface it with this. It's hot. It's moderate risk. I could just be wrong. I could just be eating my hat after this in a year. But I would be willing to put money that in a year, this card is more than $10 for the foil. That's my guess.
Yep. Right now, I'll bring it up. There are 4 total foils on TCG that are light play or near mint, and they're about $7 each. And Card Kingdom is buying the non-foil at $3.85, or $5 credit.
Yeah.
So.
And they have 2 in stock for $7.
That should actually be, if you guys pay attention then to Card Kingdom's site, we should see both numbers go up by end of week.
Yeah.
I think their algorithm runs either very late at night or very early in the morning.
I think
EST.
it's at night.
Yeah. Like Channel Fireball, they coincide with EST for some reason. So if you pay attention to their site and this card, you should see it update in the next couple of days, which is ridiculous. Oh.
Yeah.
Wait. You can almost right now. You could. I'm not gonna get this out in time. There's no way. But if you buy every copy of this card off TCG Player right now in the non-foil under 40 cents, you'll be able to arbitrage at least 24 of them to Card Kingdom probably tomorrow, Wednesday, for profit. Because they're buying non-foils at 30 cents, 39 credit, and I'm just looking in the first filtered results for light play and near mint are all about 30 cents shipping included.
Yeah, they are.
So,
Wow.
like, it's not going to work because you're going to get fisted on shipping by buying the one copy of Thoughts of Ruin from this guy for 29 cents. That's just how it works. But yeah, there's going to come a time in the next couple of days where if you were to move in on this card sub 50 cents, you're going to be able to make a decent profit off Card Kingdom.
Yeah.
Jeez. Checking rec, it's not even. This is in 311 decks.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
No.
And again, it's from a low exposure, low print run set. It's just a weird, like, exception. It's one of those bizarre design choices from Kamigawa, the block that time forgot.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Ruination. Ruination is in 3,800 decks total. And this is a card that was printed in Stronghold and then again in the first Commander set. Like,
Yep.
WotC just decided to put Mass LD in a Commander set. In the first one, sure, why not? And Ruination is $4 to $5, $4.50 for both copies.
Yeah.
And in 4,000 decks, it's ridiculous. The gap on this. Yeah, I guess the additional exposure of Ruination in that deck really just kind of
It
popped in
made it
popularity.
all of a sudden pop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, that's interesting. So, move quick. I'm gonna try and get this podcast up tonight, Tuesday. So if you listen on Tuesday, get in on thoughts before Wednesday. Go for it. But that's gonna wrap it up for us, though. When it comes to the cast, two things we do want to touch on is that the UMA box raffle is still going, and when we hit 100 patrons, we will be locking in on those accounts, and we will be raffling off the UMA box. And we talked about another big event for our Discord only, or sorry, patrons only, announced in Discord either today or tomorrow, and you're gonna want to get in on that. It's going to be a pretty big announcement. We're going to try and keep it on the DL, see what happens.
Yeah.
But if you miss out, and you'll find out what it is in probably, what did we say, like 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Yep, about 6 weeks. You'll find out what it is, and if you didn't get in, you'll be sad. So check us out. It's easy to just donate $1 a month. That's all we're asking.
Yeah, just $1.
Your chance to get in on a UMA raffle.
Yeah.
And this additional announcement's going to be pretty big. And one thing we have discussed, and I don't know how much we've talked about it publicly, is that we do want to do these raffles fairly often. Basically, sync it up with whatever master sets are releasing, or maybe just regular sets during the year. So looking at one a quarter, and depending on the number of patrons we have in time, will determine the number of boxes that we raffle away, or whatever product we have to individual users. So again, keep coming back, keep checking that out. And you can find us on Twitter at MtG Cabalcast. That is also our Patreon with a capital A for some reason. And I am at Halt. I am Reptar on Twitter and on Reddit. And you are?
At Thursty Sizzler on Twitter and Griever9977 on Reddit. And make sure this Saturday, check out Middle School at Pieces, and in 2 weeks at Kansas City, we'll have a Middle School F&M at Spinky's Card Store. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Sorry.